All right, on Power Talk tonight, we are talking about one of Kenya's most iconic retail giants in the country, and that is Naivas, marking 35 years in the country. What does that 35-year journey look like? And indeed, what does the future look like for Naivas? And we're so pleased to have with us Peter Mukua, who's the Chief of Operations at Naivas, and Andreas von Paleske, who's the Chief of Strategy. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us on Power Talk this week. Let's start by talking about the 35-year history, Peter. What would you say has been the spirit driving this 35-year journey?
Well, let me put a bit of context to that. I think Naivas started precisely 35 years ago in a small town called Rongai in Nakuru. It was started by siblings who came together. And the sole idea was for self-subsistence, for self-improvement, nothing much. And after some time, they realized that there is potential to also put this opportunity to other Kenyans, to improve other Kenyans' lives. And I would say that's how the idea of expansion was conceived. I would look back and say 35 years, it has not just been about growth of the company. It has been more of also improvement of the lives of our fellow Kenyans. Today, Naivas has over 100 locations in the country, employs over 12,000 people, deals with over 1,500 suppliers, and contributes immensely to the economy of this country. I think, having said that, it has not been easy for the last 35 years. It has required a lot of discipline and dedication from the founders, a lot of trust, confidence, and support from our customers, a lot of support from our suppliers, and most importantly, the support, the teamwork, the dedication that we have gotten from all the employees that we work with, and especially our frontline employees who serve customers on a daily basis. Yeah,
who are the touch point with your customers. You know, family and homegrown businesses are, are a case for study in the country, right? In terms of how they grow and how they expand. How have you managed to maintain, the local Kenyan identity, even as you expand?
I think a few elements. And one of them is that we've been relentlessly focusing on our customer, trying to understand our customer, investing in real-time data and insights so that we bring out the value that we always promise our customers. And value doesn't mean necessarily just the pricing of products. It's about quality of service that we offer. It's about quality of products. It's about having the products on the shelf. And we've done that relentlessly, and it's a sentiment that we show with the huge loyalty base that we have for customers. Secondly is working with the community. As a matter of fact, most of our branches have adopted CSR activities within them. And at corporate level, we come and support them whenever they are undertaking these activities. We also deal and we also deal and work with our suppliers, and especially SMEs, whereby we have programs whereby we are not only trying to assist them in scaling their business, but also advising them in producing quality products that can be accepted by our customers. And lastly, I think the way we relate with our staff, our employees, the training, the incentives that we give them to live by the Naivas values that have brought us this far. So all those elements combined have grounded us and have made us to remain a Kenyan brand. And for your information, the Naivas brand comes from Naivasha, the name Naivasha, so not same.
Yes, Naivasha, which is in Nakuru County, and from its beginnings there. And Andreas, Peter has talked about the diverse staff 12,000 employees. He's talked a little bit about training, but how do you nurture such a large, I imagine, diverse workforce? How do you keep them motivated? And how do you ensure that they stay connected with the customer, especially because some of them are the real, touch point with customers directly?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, we're incredibly proud to be employing over 12,000 people. The impact that we have as a result in the wider families that they support is really quite significant. And we take that responsibility very seriously. We take a responsibility seriously in terms of the benefits that we offer. Peter's touched on them. We look to offer competitive pay, but also other things like a staff discount. We give 10,000 shillings per staff every Christmas as a voucher, and various other benefits. So we take our investment in our staff very seriously. But it's not just the monetary aspect. We invest a lot in training to ensure that our staff have the competencies to be able to perform their roles, and I think importantly, the ability to progress. So at Naivas, we don't talk about jobs, we talk about careers. We want to give people the opportunity to develop and further themselves and move through the ranks within Naivas. And to illustrate that point, over 90% of our internal positions, our vacancies, are filled by internal staff. So that opportunity for you to progress through the ranks with the business investing behind it is really significant. You touched on customer. We serve over 2 million customers per week. So customers, as you would imagine in our retail business, are incredibly important, but they're also really large in number. We have 3 values in our business that we really look to live and breathe every day. The first is doing the right thing, which is all about putting our customers first always, and acting with integrity and ethics to make sure that we have a high integrity organization, but it's very focused on the customer. The second is striving for excellence in everything that we do. And again, it's about finding better ways for the customer and simpler ways of working for our staff. And the third is Naivas K Local. You touched on the point, how do we remain a locally grounded business? And that's very much about respecting the diverse cultures that we have, respecting our heritage, but importantly also investing in local businesses to help the economy grow. So from the values that we indoctrinate into the business that all of our staff live by, you can see that the customer, our staff, and other local partners really play a very important role for us.
Yeah, you partner with, what is it, 4,500 suppliers?
In totality, in terms of the broader stakeholder base, correct.
Yeah, and so how do you empower the next generation of retail leaders?
There's some great anecdotes in our business. There are people in our senior team at Naivas today who started their work as line attendants, filling shelves. And that fills us with immense pride, because it highlights the fact that if you develop yourself in the business, the opportunity to grow and become a genuine retail leader in our business really is significant. We've got a great program to develop the next cohort of store managers and various other functional competencies that we look to develop. So if you've got the right skill set and the right mindset, the ability to progress at Naivas, and for us to invest in you to develop those skills, to become the future leaders in the sector, hopefully with us, but of course people move around, is really quite significant.
So you've talked a lot about how you manage your operational excellence in the country. So what does that look like, and how has that evolved over time? And then we can talk about future-proofing your business and what that looks like.
Very calm above the water, and I think feet moving very, very quickly underneath.
Right.
When you walk into one of our stores, you see an abundance of fruit and vegetable, fresh meat, freshly baked bread, and goods on the shelf. And it looks ever so easy as a customer. But of course, behind the scenes, people are working really actively. It starts, as Peter talked about, with picking the right products. So a lot of science goes into, well, what should we actually range in our stores? So that's the buying bit. But then we've got to get the product to the store. So the supply chain, especially with perishable products, is incredibly important. So again, that's a very round-the-clock operation that works to incredibly tight timelines. And last but not least, when we come into contact with the customer, what you see in our stores is we've got to make sure our standards are top-notch. Kenyan customers are very demanding customers, rightly so, and so they expect high standards in our store, be that the look and the feel of the store, which Peter and the team have invested a lot in, but also the customer service that we offer when we come into contact with the staff, right, with a customer, be that at the checkout, or indeed be that when you're moving your way around the supermarket and looking for particular items.
Peter, you mentioned the humble beginnings, so from 1 branch to 110, I believe.
Yes.
So talk to us about this expansion strategy. One, how you maintain quality, because the worry for many businesses is you expand and your quality and the services that you provide reduces, that the two are somehow inversely proportional. But Talk to us about the strategy. What drives it? Demand? Is it opportunity? And how do you make that decision? And even while you do that, so you've got these branches in Kenya. Any plans to go outside the country?
Well, I'll say for us, growth comes in two ways. One is on expansion, and the other one is organic growth of the existing real estate. For us, it's not about the number of branches that we open. It's about are we sustaining? Are we running a sustainable business? And so expanding comes secondary, but it's key to us for us to reach new markets and all that. Yeah. There's a narrative that supermarkets fall because of expansion. Yeah. I would like to say that that is not entirely correct. It depends on so many other things that are to do with whether you have the right systems, whether you have the right processes, whether you are financially reinforced, governance of the company. And before we expand and before we've gone into this journey, these are some of the foundations that our founders set up. So we are really keen to expand, because we know that's the only way we can grow. Yeah. But at the same time, we are very cautious in how we expand. So
it's not just expanding for the sake of it, right?
Exactly.
To have a branch count, like 110, 120, 130.
No, exactly. Yeah. And one of the most important elements, if you look, we invest a lot before we decide on a location. The studies that goes into that, feasibilities. And for us, like I said, it's not about the number of branches. Sometimes we open a branch, we're never 100% right on locations. But if it doesn't work and we throw everything at it, we close them. Because again, it's about creating a sustainable business model. In terms of going outside the country, I would say we're ambitious to that, but we still feel there's so much to be done in this country. In terms of improvements, when you say about operational efficiency, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done to our customers, to bring more customers in our stores, to improve the basket value of the existing stores. So at this moment, I would say it's not a priority. It's a plan. We are ambitious about that, but we want to be able to make sure that our Kenyan business is working as it should be, both in terms of customers and on a financial level.
Okay, I want to ask you one last question, and this is about family businesses and how they're run and how they scale from, like you said, started by siblings to now a huge corporation that it is. What sort of advice would you give? I know this is a bit left field, but I think it's an important question when we look at family-owned businesses and how to make them successful and multi-generational. What would you say has been the key to the success of a family-owned business, one that started out as one anyway?
I think one thing is running it as not as a family business, running it as a professional institution. And one of the things many families, the mistake that they make is thinking that family members must and always should work into the business. I think it's the wrong notion. I think you need to bring people who are capable, professionals. And I think as Naivas, that's what we did from the onset, bringing other people who have different ideas, people who can tell you no when it's a no, and not someone who will always tell you yes even when you're in the wrong. Okay. So it's about inclusivity and bringing in professionals to help you run the business. Okay,
thank you both very much for that. We wish you the best in the next 35. And multiples of that, of course, going forward. Congratulations on marking 35 years as a business in the country, and with what happens next for you. Peter Mukuha, who's the Chief of Operations at Naivas, and Andreas von Paleske, who's the Chief of Strategy. Thank you both very much for coming and for your journey, and of course being an important part of the Kenyan economy. That is Power Talk this week.